One of the Bigfoot skeptics' favorite arguments: how can a supposed 8-foot-tall creature upwards of 600 pounds manage to hide from us so well? It must mean that it's not real, right? Only to minds that are closed on the subject, but this is one of my favorite areas of discussion in explaining the existence of Bigfoot, because a lot of this stuff is interesting to think about. It's easy to come to the conclusion that a creature that's supposed to be so big couldn't possibly hide from us that well. Surely we would have found him by now. Like we're so smart and cunning and stealthy that we couldn't possibly miss something that big in the woods. But think about it this way. Let's just suppose, just for the sake of argument, that Bigfoot really does exist. And let's also suppose they are every bit as big as eyewitnesses say. So what if living alongside humans for maybe thousands of years has proved to be a dangerous proposition for them? And what if they've evolved these amazing hiding abilities as a survival mechanism against that very dangerous enemy, us? What if their most important survival mechanism is avoiding us? How would that affect their evolution? Cloaking is a word I don't use without extreme caution in the Bigfoot community. But I've often wondered if the cloaking that people claim to have witnessed in Bigfoot sightings is something more like a highly advanced form of camouflage. Maybe something our military forces could actually learn from. We humans have a really bad habit of thinking that we've discovered just about everything there is to discover on this planet. But that notion is proved wrong quite often. Is it really so hard to imagine that there are things in the biological world that we don't know about yet, that science hasn't discovered yet? Hiding things is a highly technical art form, but very doable. Just about anything could be hidden, even in plain sight, especially if enough thought and effort is put into it. And let me also point out that hiding from humans is even easier. Compared to a lot of others in the animal world, we have terrible eyesight and incidentally have been somewhat cut off from our natural instincts. We often ignore our instincts, so a lot of things in nature elude us. But not all humans are like this. There are a few of us who've polished up our natural instincts. Nature enthusiasts, of course, but strangely enough, also military personnel. Which brings me to an idea I first introduced on our blog back in 2012, and it's received no rave reviews. But I'm going to bring it up again here because I think it might be very relevant, but you can decide for yourself. I have a strange interest in military tactics. I don't know where it came from, but I watch the military channel a lot. I love to see the different tactics our servicemen and women are trained to use to hunt down or elude the enemy. And also the tactics used in historic battles that are still relevant today. It's a different brand of intelligence applied in no other aspect of life. We just don't think about this stuff so much normally. But maybe we need to think more about it, especially when we're trying to figure out Bigfoot. A hunter in Ohio with military experience once found himself surrounded by what he later believed was a group of Sasquatches in the night woods. He felt a presence, heard footsteps that stopped when he stopped, and heard owls all around him, then followed by dead silence. He described the experience as being somewhat like a Navy SEAL team flanking him in the dark, almost like ghosts. And this is not the only account described in this way. After talking to numerous Bigfoot researchers and hearing their stories and stories they've heard about others' encounters, it has occasionally been mentioned that Sasquatches have a strategy of living in the woods similar to military special forces on a mission. The way they hide, skulk, stay quiet, and drop out of sight in a split second seems very similar, and it would explain a lot of things. When I first started talking about this subject, I'd been watching a video of a supposed Bigfoot, and as I watched, it occurred to me that the creature in the video looks something like a man wearing a certain type of ghillie suit. You know, the garb that military snipers wear? And it stirred some thoughts about how these creatures may be able to stay hidden so well, and how it might be impossible to find them if they don't want to be found. I became interested in sniper tactics when my nephew entered sniper training in the Army. I was very worried about him when he told me what he was planning to do. He's such a gentle soul, soft-spoken, very patient with animals and children. How would he survive such a difficult and dangerous job? But this is also the personality that many Bigfoot researchers describe about Sasquatches, mostly gentle in nature and usually non-confrontational. And to be able to hide so well, they must be patient and avoid movement, sometimes for long periods. And it occurred to me that my nephew, however scary it was for me, was actually the perfect personality for this job. Snipers must have a patient nature and the ability to stay quiet and wait for long periods of time, while sometimes moving very little. These are things that Sasquatches are believed to do very well. So in order to find them, do we need to apply a more military mind to the problem? It's interesting to think about, but I'm not sure it would make finding Bigfoot any easier. Here we have a very large creature with often matted hair that blends into its wild environment with no trouble at all. It can often stay still in plain sight and not be seen. When military snipers are dispatched in the field, the idea is that they won't be found. The mission depends on it. And I suppose the mission of Bigfoot is also to not be found. And there is no set strategy to find a sniper. There is thermal, movement detection, and sound location, but most snipers shoot once and then they move, so these applications don't often work either. In order to find a sniper, it's mostly about being familiar with your area, trees, rocks, and the general layout of the land, which often changes season to season. Then to be able to note what's different about all of it. A good eye for detail is key. In a nutshell, snipers, like Bigfoot, can't easily be found. So is this the hiding skill that Bigfoot has? Is that why we haven't been able to zero in on them? And combine this one amazing ability with super intelligence and a highly suspicious nature, and possibly an almost intense desire to avoid humans at all costs, and maybe we have a recipe for a state-of-the-art hider. Bigfooters joke that Bigfoot is the reigning hide-and-seek champion of the world, and after nearly 50 years of hundreds of people searching for them, very little has changed in that respect. Progress is still slow. So are we spinning our wheels in Bigfoot research until we change the way we think? Well, I'll leave you with some final thoughts. With all the ideas swirling that Sasquatches may be another type of human and one of our closest relatives yet, in living alongside us, they've been forced to adapt to our world, not the other way around. So knowing how extreme we are as a species and how we've shaped the planet to fit ourselves, if they were to survive in our world, wouldn't it be extremely important for them to be able to either live with us or to hide from us completely and make sure we don't know they exist? All animals adapt in order to survive in their environment. Even if their environment is totally inhospitable, many animals have adapted amazing abilities in order to survive in some very extreme living conditions. They're a class of animals known as extremophiles. What if living on the same planet with us is Bigfoot's version of extreme conditions? What if Bigfoot are an extremophile because of us? And what if that's the reason they stay hidden from us so well? This is Dorraine Fisher with the Crypto Crew around the campfire.